Do you know, when I was a boy growing up, one of the icons of the American movie industry was Clark Gable, and of course his great epic Gone with the Wind. And an incident happened to me once, many years ago, that made me think of a parallel with the life of Yeshua. I was speaking at a church in a small town in northern Ohio, and after the Sunday morning service was invited to lunch at a lovely elderly woman's home, whose late husband for many years had been the leading banker of this tiny little community, although back in the 20s and 30s it was a thriving coal town. And there was a young man who grew up in that town named Billy Gable, who turned out to be Clark Gable. But as she was telling us stories about this boy, Billy Gable, I didn't realize who she was speaking of, because she just called him Billy. It turns out his full name was William Clark Gable. And when he left Cadiz, Ohio, to go to New York, to Broadway, and then on to Hollywood, he decided to take as his stage name, his middle name, Clark Gable. Now, you and I, of course, know him as this bigger-than-life figure on the screen of a movie theater. But in fact, to those people in Cadiz, Ohio, where he grew up, he was just Billy Gable. He was a typical boy from this Ohio town. I want to suggest that something similar has happened with respect to Yeshua. You and I have seen him projected on the screen of Christian history, and typically in epic proportions, as the Son of God. In fact, recently I saw a few moments of one of the classic movies about Jesus. I don't remember the title, but it was the one with Jeffrey Hunter, who played Jesus, and I was chuckling because every time the camera turned to Jesus, i.e. Jeffrey Hunter and his piercing blue eyes, suddenly angelic voices would begin to sing. And we had this image of somehow Jesus as bigger than life, as some kind of a supernatural, if you will, almost extraterrestrial person who came into the earth and goes around maybe like the master Obi-Wan Kenobi in Star Wars, and he zaps people with the Force. But in fact, nothing could be further from the truth. Jesus was thoroughly Jewish. He was fully a man, and before that he was fully a boy. He had devout parents. He grew up in the Galilee, where there was fervent nationalism and also fervent religious zeal, where there were very pious sages, these Hasidim, like Honi, the circle drawer, Hanina ben Dosa. And Jesus grew in wisdom and in stature. You know, there are those in the New Age movement and gurus from India who will tell you that Jesus actually got his spiritual education in the Far East, that after the gospel account of his appearance at the temple at age 12, that we don't hear of him again until age 30, when he begins his public ministry. And he was off to the Far East on a quest for spiritual enlightenment. And there, so goes the New Age teaching, he received instruction in secret meditation techniques, how to turn within and focus on the single eye and hear the cosmic chord and be transported into heavenly regions. And when he returned then and began his ministry, it was these secrets of the kingdom that Jesus was passing along to his disciples. And of course, there's certain texts that the New Agers love to quote, such as, if your eye be single, your whole body will be full of light. Such as the scripture when Jesus says to some of his opponents, know ye not that ye are gods? Citing Psalm. But you know, it's once you begin studying the reality of Jesus of Nazareth, all of this is utter foolishness, because his teaching methods, based upon the Jewish scriptures and his childhood education, are fully consistent with his Jewish environment. To say that Jesus became a spiritual guru and learned the truth of spirituality in the ancient East would make about as much sense as saying that Mahatma Gandhi got his spiritual education at Southwest Baptist Theological Seminary in Fort Worth, Texas. Gandhi was a part of his culture and a part of his religion of Hinduism. Yeshua is part of his culture, and he fully affirms the ancient Jewish traditions and the ancient Jewish, venerable Jewish scriptures.